Larceny is the taking and carrying away of another's tangible personal property without consent and with the intent to permanently dispossess the person of the property. Required elements are 1, a taking, which is obtaining control or possession. If defendant already has possession at the time of the taking, it's not larceny, but may give rise to embezzlement. 2, carrying away. The slightest movement will suffice. 3, without consent, against the victim's free will. The use of fraud or duress negates consent. Note, this element distinguishes larceny from larceny by trick. 4, intent to permanently dispossess must exist during a taking. So the specific intent crime, not larceny, if defendant takes property as security for a debt owed or believing it belongs to the defendant. Permanently is for an unforeseeable period of time. Continuing trespass, when one borrows property with the intent to return it, but later keeps it, larceny arises as at the moment the defendant decides not to return the property. Finding a lost item. Larceny can arise if the true owner is known or ascertainable and the defendant decides to keep the property. Must be lost or misplaced. Larceny cannot arise for abandoned property. Embezzlement, fraudulent conversion of another's personal property by one in lawful possession. Required elements. 1, fraudulent conversion. Defendant uses another's property beyond the scope of or inconsistent with defendant's possessory rights. 2, by one in lawful possession. Defendant must have lawful possession at the time of conversion. Distinguished from larceny. Both involve obtaining property through misappropriation, but circumstances of the taking differ. Embezzlement is the conversion of property in defendant's rightful possession, whereas larceny is taking the property not in defendant's possession. Special issues refuting embezzlement. Intent to restore. If defendant takes property with the intent to restore the exact property, no embezzlement has occurred. Must be the exact same property, not even different monetary bills of equal value will suffice. Claim of right. Like larceny, embezzlement will not arise if the misappropriation is made under a claim of right to the property, so the defendant believes the property belongs to him. False pretenses, obtaining title to another's property using false statements of past or existing fact with the intent to defraud. So the required elements are 1, obtaining title, so obtaining ownership, not mere possession. B, by false statements, must be an intentional false statement. 3, of past or existing facts, so misrepresentation regarding a future event is not sufficient. 4, intent to defraud, so intent to steal. Victim must be deceived or act in reliance on the false statement in passing title to the defendant. Larceny by trick, obtaining possession of another's personal property using false statements of past or existing facts. So possession versus ownership is the distinguishing factor. Larceny by trick is the defendant acquires possession. False pretenses, defendant acquires title. Receipt of stolen property. Receiving possession and control of personal property known to have been illegally obtained with the intent to permanently deprive the owner of its interest in it. Required elements are 1, receipt of possession and control. So the physical possession is not required. Defendant can have possession or control by designating the property's location or arranging to sell it for the original thief. 2, of stolen personal property. Property must have been stolen when defendant receives it. 3, known to have been illegally obtained by another. So defendant must know or have reason to know the property is stolen. 4, with intent to permanently deprive the owner of his interests. Note, beware of the sting situation. If police and the true property owners knew of or arranged defendant's receipt of the property, it's not truly stolen. Defendant can be convicted of attempted receipt of stolen property if she intended to receive the property believing it to be stolen. Forgery, creating or altering a written document with purported legal significance to be false with the intent to defraud. Required elements, creating or altering. Drafting, adding, deleting from document contents. Also includes offering a forged document as a genuine even if defendant did not create the forged document. 2, a document with purported legal significance. A document that carries legal value, like a check or contract, but not a painting. To be false, modifying the document into something it is not, changing its legal significance, not just changing it to be inaccurate, with intent to defraud. Specific intent crime. Note, actually defrauding somebody is not required. The mere intent to defraud is sufficient. Robbery is the wrongful taking of another's personal property from his person or presence by force or threat of injury with the intent to permanently deprive. Robbery, assault or battery, and larceny. Victim's person or presence is interpreted broadly. Force or threat of injury, a small force or threat will suffice. Threat of injury must be to the victim, a member of her family, or a person in her presence. Victim must give up the property because she feels threatened or harmed. Victim must be aware. Threats to future harm are insufficient. Larceny versus robbery. Robbery requires force or threats to obtain victim's property, whereas larceny does not. A pickpocket commits larceny if the victim does not notice his act, but commits robbery if the victim notices. Extortion is obtaining property through threats of future harm or exposing information. Extortion versus robbery. Extortion does not require a taking from the victim's person or presence. Extortion involves threats of future rather than immediate harm. Burglary, trespassing, breaking, and entering into a dwelling house of another at nighttime with the intent to commit a felony therein. Required elements are 1, a breaking, which can be actual or constructive, must be trespassory. Actual is the opening or enlarging, opening an unlocked door. Constructive is entry by threat, force, fraud, or duress. Fraud negates any consent victim may have given. Trespass is required, so entering with consent or through a wide open door is not a breaking. Breaking is not required under many modern statutes. 2, entering, placing any portion of the body or instrument used for the breaking inside the dwelling. A dwelling is a structure used for sleeping purposes. Modern statutes expand to include non-dwelling structures. 3, of another. Ownership is irrelevant. Occupancy will suffice. 4, at nighttime. Common law requirement. Not required element under modern statutes. 5, with the intent to commit a felony therein. Modern statutes include misdemeanor thefts, felony need not be completed, defendant must merely intend to commit a crime at the time of the breaking and entering. Intent acquired after entering is insufficient. Note, on the MBE, apply modern rules unless otherwise instructed. Arson is the malicious burning of the dwelling house of another. Required elements are 1, malicious with the intent or extreme recklessness. 2, burning requires some damage to the structure caused by fire. Damage from smoke, water, explosions is not sufficient at common law. 3, dwelling house is a structure where someone lives. Common law requirement. Note, on MBE, it can be a non-residential structure. 4, of another person's house. At common law, there can be no arson if you own the dwelling but do not reside there. Damages required must be charring or something more. Discoloration, blackening, or other lesser damage is insufficient.